Hey everyone! So due to the mind-boggling amount of cries for help I received from 3 people asking how I filmed the Destiny sequences in Newcomer, I've decided to make this tutorial. To be clear, this isn't a general tutorial on how to film a machinima, it's geared specifically towards Destiny and tackling the problems it creates. Basically, I'm going to run through a checklist, which, if followed, will make your shots go from looking like this to something more like this. So let's get started. So the first item on the list is screen bounds. This one is pretty minor, but it is easy to forget, which is why I've listed it first. To adjust screen bounds, go to the settings tab in the menu and click on screen bounds. You want to push the blue borders out as far as you can. By doing this, you're moving all the elements of the HUD closer to the edge of the screen, giving you just a bit more room to work with. Next item, lowering your gun. To do this, simply idle in the game for 5 minutes. Yes, you actually have to sit there for 5 minutes. I timed it. While your gun is lowered, you can still jump, sprint, crouch, swap weapons, or pull out your ghost, and it won't raise back up. However, it will if you perform any combat maneuvers, like shooting, throwing a grenade, even looking through your scope. It will also raise if an enemy appears on radar, and by the way, it's very touchy about that, if you ride your Sparrow, or if you're in the blast radius of a nearby Guardian Super. So at this point, you might have noticed a problem. Even when they're lowered, most of the weapons in Destiny still take up a lot of space on screen, the hand cannon being the worst offender. Oddly enough, the best gun you can use is the very first one you get in the game. Now, most of you probably dismantled that gun within the first hour of playing, and I imagine you'll have to slog through the tutorial again. So this is a good time to mention you may want to designate one of your character slots, or at the very least a subclass, to being a full-time cameraman. This is because of the next item on the list. No super. When your super is charged, the pulsing bar will limit your screen space, and although you can switch between subclasses to burn the super without raising your gun, the bar still remains. But if you don't unlock the super upgrade for one of your subclasses, the bar will never appear. This one is a bit more of a commitment than the other items, because you're basically handicapping an entire subclass, but I figured I'd throw it in there because every little bit counts. The last item on the list is removing gamertags. The easiest way to do this is to simply shoot everything in close-up. If you frame your shots correctly, the gamertag will get cropped out when you add the black bars in later. If a close-up isn't an option, or if the character is in motion, removing the gamertags becomes more complicated. I'm sure there's no one solution to this problem, but I'm just going to briefly describe how I did it. For each shot, I filmed the body actors as I normally would. Then, without moving the camera, I asked them to leave the frame so I could film the blank background. In hindsight, I could have also just had them crouch, so I wouldn't have to reposition them after every shot. Then, when editing, I cropped and feathered the footage of the background where the gamertags would be, and then placed it over the original shot, thus removing the gamertags. The effect isn't perfect, and the constantly blowing dust or wind or whatever that is sometimes reveals the cropped areas, and when the Guardians start dancing, it made cropping a lot more difficult. Still, it's preferable to looking at someone's gamertag the entire time. So that's about it for the checklist. Some final thoughts. Be mindful of the day-night cycle and also shadows in the game, because they move quickly. I went and redid the opening shot of Destiny in Newcomer Episode 6 because the lighting in my first take didn't match the rest of the scene. Also, watch out for floating gamertags of other players in the background. Destiny is a social game and people will be coming and going constantly. You can mitigate their appearance in the frame by picking less populated locations to shoot, or by going on a mission and entering a darkness zone. Just make sure not to get too close to any enemies, or to clear out an area beforehand, or else your gun will raise up. Finally, if you can shoot in a location where public events don't occur, well then you're much smarter than me and you've saved yourself some time. You lucky bastard. In summary, there's a lot you have to put up with in order to make a Destiny machinima look decent. And you'll probably break down in tears at some point because of how maddeningly frustrating it is. If you still have any questions, post them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them there. Special thanks to ISAFMobius18 for helping me body axe segments of this tutorial. And that's it. Thanks for watching. When you realize how maddeningly frustrating it is. Maddeningly? I need a new adverb.